Well, the new album, Force of Danger, is out very soon. It's an appropriate title, I think, for Kryptos. Kryptos has always been a very high energy, very exciting band, and so therefore Force works perfectly. And
yeah, we get dangerous when we drink a bit too much.
Sorry?
We get a bit dangerous when we drink too much.
So for you, what does the title Force of Danger mean?
It doesn't really mean anything as such. It's kind of like it was kind of inspired by all these 80s and 90s sci-fi action movies. Like Escape from New York, things like that. So it's kind of like when you see you have all this ominous sci-fi music, and the good guys with his guns and the bad guys showing up, and there's all those sound effects, and that kind of sounds like a force of danger. I don't know why it just came to me when I was doing all this stuff, and that title always stuck in my head. I was like, damn, I need to name this album. I need to use this as an album title or a song one day. It worked this time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we actually did the artwork for the album before we titled the album. Once the artwork came in, I was like, yeah, I need to put this in there.
And speaking of the artwork, it's very cool. How satisfied were you with the end product of the artwork, and who did the art for this album?
Actually, it was done by a good Ruben. He's from Visual Amnesia Illustrations. So he did the initial art, which actually didn't really look what it does now. He kind of the robotic figure. I mean, he's the one behind that. But he gave us a very plain background with a blue sky and stuff, which is like kind of weird. Like the Terminator's going for a picnic or something. That was really bizarre. So we were already working with another artist from Colombia, Subhuman Illustrations, and she was actually designing a booklet and a sleeve and everything. So we just asked her if she could touch it up. She kind of understood what kind of feel we were going for, and she did the background and everything with the entire sci-fi, Star Wars, 80s finish. So it turned out great, the combination of both of these things.
I mean, if nothing else, Terminator Going for a Picnic is a great alternative album title.
Yeah, yeah, actually.
And but musically, what separates Force of Danger from Afterburner? How are these albums different?
I would say, of course, the production. You'll notice quite a difference in production actually. We kind of stripped it down a bit more on Force of Danger because the songs on Force of Danger have a lot more NWO BHM influences. So we want to even match the production to that. So if you listen to our album and you listen to some of the really early 80s NWO BHM bands, like Jaguar and Angel Witch and Saxon, Blitzkrieg, all these bands. So you'll notice similarities in our production with those. It's like an updated version of the early NWO BHM production.
Yeah.
And some people might find it a bit harsh, maybe, but I think considering the songs and the way we wanted to present the songs and the outlook we were going for, I think it works really well. Especially with you listen to it multiple times, you get used to it, and then you're like, oh yeah, man, that's where it comes from. You get it, That's I would say that's the biggest difference. But sonically, musically, it's pretty much in the same lines as Afterburner, but with more. I would say it's more direct. It's more to the point.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like the riffs are straightforward, simple, catchy. Same with the guitar leads, the melodies. In fact, actually, the solos are. I would say the solos are more elaborate on Force of Danger this time. So our guitarist Rohit, he was like jamming a lot to Randy Rhoads and Chris Oliver and stuff. So it all came out in this album.
Yeah,
that's the biggest.
Cool. I'm looking forward to hearing the whole thing, man. So, but this is, of course, it's an important new album for Kryptos as well. This is your first album with Vijit Singh on drums. I believe he's been in the band for a little while as like a live member or session member, but this is his first album with the band.
Yeah.
How was it writing songs and recording with Vijit?
Yeah, it's different, we were so used to our drummer Anthony. We had a great rapport with him, great connection. But unfortunately, he had to move to Canada. So Vijit was recommended to us by a friend. He played in another local band who we all knew, and he's a really young guy. I mean, he's just 24, and all of us are like old parts, like 40s. So it was kind of like he's the new kid on the block, and we hazed him a bit about the entire thing. And yeah, he was thrown straight into the fire actually, because he joined the band and we went on tour to Europe, and he went from playing to like 5 people in a dingy garage, and all of a sudden he's playing at like festivals in Europe and stuff. So he was like, what the fuck? But yeah, he really, I mean, he really took to it like a duck to water, And when we got in the studio, actually he had a tough time in the studio because we wrote the album really quickly, and because of COVID and everything, there was, the situation was really hard to move about in our city, and we had to like really plan our schedules, and it was really tight. So none of us had much time to learn the songs really well. We had to burn the midnight oil and get things really as tight as possible. So he had the toughest time because his drum parts were first up, and he didn't have much time to learn them. And he got into the studio, and we just pushed him, we ground him into the mud. Yeah, he had to 12-hour session. They're like, do it again, do it again. He's like, dude, I don't know the song that well. Yeah. But yeah, he pulled it off at the end. But I don't think he's looking forward to the next album after this.
Well, hopefully, at least this time, he won't be straight into the deep end. He'll have a little bit of time to prepare in that. So, but from what I've heard, he's done a great job. And specifically, what I've heard is "Hot Wired," which you've done a music video for, of course. Why was this track chosen as the lead single for "Water Danger"?
Actually, this was the third single we put out. We put out 2 singles before this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but Hot Wired so far has got the best response. At least if we're going by YouTube views. Yeah, it's already hit like 60,000 views in a couple of weeks. So, I mean, that's great for us. Small fry for Iron Maiden or something, but for us, it's like wow. But yeah, I think that song is, I'm not surprised that song took off really well because it's a short song, it's simple, it's catchy. The lyrics are, I think everyone can relate to it right now, especially with everyone locked up because of the pandemic and stuff. And everyone just wants to like, get out and, just rage. So, I guess that song kind of seems like the soundtrack to that. I guess connecting more with everyone.
Yeah, like I say, we're all just at the point now where we're getting rabid, you know what I mean? We just want to get out. And so a song like Hot Wired is perfect for that. Just once you actually leave the house, there's that explosion of energy.
Yeah,
Hot
exactly.
Wired. So,
I could actually picture somebody, getting out, and he's like getting out for the first time, putting that song on in his car and like going straight into a wall or something.
There you go. Buy the album, but don't listen to it while you're driving.
Exactly.
Once again, this album is released through AFM Records. How's the relationship with AFM been so far?
It's been great. I've been with them. I think it's close to 10 years now. This is the 4th album we are releasing with them, and they've been really supportive from day one. The great part about AFM is, they're not really a traditional metal label. They don't. I mean, we're kind of an anomaly on AFM because there aren't any other bands that sound like us on AFM. Very old school, very traditional, but most of the bands from are more modern, power metal, stuff like that. But the key thing is they never asked us to change our sound to fit in with, their roster, or they never told us to do things differently. They were always supportive of the way we do things, our outlook, who we are. And it's actually because of them we've been getting so much traction over the last few years, because their reach is really good, especially in Europe, and especially in South America as well, and some other places. Those are places we would have never probably got in touch with if it weren't for them. So that was really important, and especially they get us a lot of media coverage, magazines, reviews, interviews, things like that. That really helps also. And yeah, I was actually kind of worried that when they heard the new album, they'd be like, "Man, this is a bit too old school," they get it up to scratch, but they didn't say anything, so I guess they really liked it.
Yeah. It's interesting there, like you say, through AFM, you've been able to reach metal fans in Europe and South America and North America as well. Kryptos is a very interesting band in that if you ask most people if they can name one metal band from India, they'll name Kryptos. And for a country that big with so many people, there must be tons of great metal bands in India.
There are tons of bands. I don't know about great bands. I mean, there are lots of bands here. There are tons. I mean, you throw a rock at any city, any town, you'll find shit ton of bands.
Yeah.
But most, in my opinion, most of them aren't very good. Second of all, most of them don't last the distance. They form, they maybe release an album, a few songs, and they break up after like 2 or 3 years. Life in India does that to you. It's, 1 minute you're waking up, next minute you're spending 2 hours in traffic, another next minute you're pushing a cow off the road or something. And and you go to work and you come back and you're just fried. You can't even think of making music. So I get it. I get why bands break up and they don't last the distance.
Yeah.
But there are a few bands out here that have been around for quite a long time, and we're still trying to keep it going. But it's getting harder every day. I mean, the pandemic hasn't helped.
Yeah. No,
but,
sorry, go on.
No, but as long as in our case, our band is. I mean, the band is everything for us. Music, everything. So unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we had to cancel our last 2 European tours. So that's really put a dampener on things. But looking forward to next year. Hopefully.
Yeah. Like you mentioned the pandemic there, and there's been a lot of coverage about the effects of the pandemic. Obviously, can't get away from it in any country. But quite a lot of focus on India as well and how it's affected India. Has it affected the recording and the release of Force of Danger at all?
It affected the recording because we had to schedule our recording sessions based on the lockdown situations and the curfews and all that stuff. There was a window in January when things opened up a bit. Sorry, in March. We started writing in January and we started recording in March, and there was a window of about a month when things opened up. So we scheduled our recording sessions for that entire month, and we had to finish it off in that time frame because over here things happen on the fly. One day the government says go out and party and have fun, and the next day they're like stay in your houses, they're locked in. So there's no advance warning or anything. You're just, it could happen. So we just kind of we took a chance, booked the entire month, did the recording, and we finished the recording, and we were recording the video for Force of Danger, the title track. And on that particular day, we were shooting the video, and the video, we were almost at the end. And apparently we got a call saying that the government has ordered a curfew from 9:30 onwards. And it was already 8 p.m. and we were like scrambling to finish the video and beating up and get out of there. Because if the Indian cops catch you after curfew, they'll beat your ass wrong. So,
Shit.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you got home in time, man.
Yeah, we did. We just
Well, going back to what we were saying a minute ago there about you say a lot of bands in India, but they don't tend to last very long. Obviously, Kryptos. I can't tell how you're perceived in India, but I would imagine that being around for as long as you have, that you are kind of held up a bit as like an aspiration for Indian metal fans and Indian metal bands as well to start their own bands and everything. And so, what's been the driving force behind Kryptos for so long with such difficulties?
it's just the music. We grew up with this music since we were kids. I mean, I got into this music like more than 30 years ago. About like all of us in the band actually. We all got into music as kids, and it's been with us through thick and thin. This for me, when I listen to Judas Priest or Maiden or whatever, I still feel the same as I felt when I was like 8 or 9 years old. That feeling hasn't gone away. I think the only time we'll hang up our boots is when that feeling starts going away. Because until then, we kind of still have this fire inside to still create music that the music that inspired us. We want to kind of put our own spin on that and get it out to the world as well. And also, it's a great. I don't know. It's a we take a lot of pride in being from a country which doesn't really have a traditional metal scene or anything. We're kind of like showing everyone that even we can do it. We come from India, but we can kick ass as much as the rest of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're also driving other bands to do, other musicians over here to do. Every time we release something, every time we get reviewed or interviewed by media abroad, and we play festivals abroad, gigs abroad and stuff. I see a lot of bands writing into us from here saying, oh man, you've shown us that it can be done, so we also want to do it. And we're kind of really happy that we've given a lot of people in our country an option. A lot of people think you go to school, you go to college, you work, you get married, and you die.
Yeah.
That's the Indian way of life. There's nothing else. But when they see us doing what we love to do, they, other kids think, wow, if they can do it, why can't I? Maybe
Yes.
I'll play the drums, I'll do whatever. But, it's more than anything, that's what we want to see. We want to make a change over here in the way people think, that you can actually do everything you want to do. You can work, you can take care of your family, and you can do your music. And especially now with technology and the internet, it's much easier than it was when we started out.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, all these like national scenes or whatever, they have to start somewhere. And I think you think like 30 years ago, we wouldn't have thought about hearing metal from Brazil, and then Sepultura came out, and we started hearing lots more.
Yep.
And again, that's a big country with a lot of people.
Yeah. In fact, Sepultura was kind of like it was kind of inspiring for us, their story, coming from Brazil. And I've read all about how they went on tour with Sodom and, they blew everyone away.
Yeah.
And it sat up and took notice of Brazilian metal because of them. And yeah, a lot of, I watched, interviews with other bands in Brazil, documentaries about how they look up to Sepultura for opening the gates for everyone else. So, we kind of want to be like that also.
Yeah. Again, I can't speak for young Indian metal fans because I'm not young or Indian, but I would imagine that's very much the case for a young headbanger in Bangalore, Delhi, or wherever. So. Just finally, then, like we say, we are still dealing with the pandemic. It's affected things, but tours and such are starting to come back very slowly. What plans have Kryptos got to promote Force of Danger?
We had a European tour scheduled for November 2021. We had to postpone the entire thing again. But hopefully next year we should have we might come over 3 times to make up for everything. We might have a 2-week tour in March or April of Spain, Italy, France, the Iberian region. We have our first Russian gig in July at a big festival there, and hopefully we'll get some gigs around that. We have something. We have this. I mean, the tour that was scheduled for November has been pushed to next November, so that's a long tour. We're hitting a lot of countries in that span. For the first time, Czech Republic, Poland, Finland, all these places. So, yeah, it's looking good so far. Until who knows what will happen next year?
No. Well, obviously, for the sake of the whole world, I hope things get back to normal. But especially for Kryptos, I hope it gets back to normal, so you can come out and play more, and hopefully even see you in the UK. Who knows?
We actually have plans for that. We're working on it. I hope it works out. So let's see.
Good. Me too.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, on that note, Nolan, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me tonight. I really do appreciate it, mate.
Thanks, Ollie. It was really fun.
Best of luck with the album. And like I just said there, I hope everything gets back to some sort of normality soon so we can see you out on the road again.
Absolutely.